So, hello, welcome to another episode of our podcast. And today I have Anne-Roos here with me, and I'm so excited because we're going to have a heart-centered conversation, and you get to find out what it is all about as we go forward. So, Anne-Roos is an energetic healer, coach, and breathwork facilitator. And with her one-on-one sessions and group ceremonies, she takes you into her unique way of connecting, letting go, and being. She knows how to put the difficult parts of the awareness process into easy words. Oh, I can't wait to hear that. And make them understandable and more light. Her passion for self-development, awareness, and life itself makes her rich in experiences, being on her own unique journey as well in the inner and outer world. She understands the waves of life and is here to guide you through your own waters. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for us to be having a conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and to see you again as well.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so it has been an interesting journey. Like, I think the last 2 years, it has been fully focused on my business, but also on myself. And last year, I really came to the point that I really want to put like a retreat together. And also that it's like I've been living as a nomad, so living in a lot of different countries, so moving to a lot of different places, being blessed to meet a lot of like inspiring people, but also just to again and again just find my own center and really just like what's moving me through life and what I want to do and what's what I want to create here. So yeah, and then I was planning to make my own retreat, and then you come along my way, and we already had a conversation before, and in the meantime a lot of things has happened. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I know you have like you planned this retreat, and I know you're super heart-centered, and I love that. That's so important. But we were having a conversation about how that can get in our way. So, how do you feel about that? Because I've been there.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing. Like, I think everyone that's on this self journey is learning how to more listen to the heart and move from there on. And so also am I. And I just felt such a spark to like put a retreat together, such from like the heart energy. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna focus, and everything just fell in places. And along the way on the process, everything came really from the heart. But along the process of the retreat, I was like, oh, wait, like I need the head, I need the plan. Like what you said before as well, like it's like an event. It's like there are so many things to also like take care of and to plan and to do. So slowly the energy went to the head. And then there was like the connection between the heart and the head was just like not there. Like, okay, but how I'm gonna do it? Oh, this is the first time I'm gonna do it. I don't know how, but I really need to do it because, well, that heart was just like yelling from like, yeah, do it. And then the mind was just overloaded actually. And then I really saw how beautiful it was, like a shift from moving from that heart energy to the head energy, and really I would not say controlling it, but out of like a different energy, just putting things in work, like more out of a fear base rather than a place of abundance, or like what I really wanted to share. And rather than like sharing like a safe space to people be with, I think I was also sharing my fear of like making the retreat. And I think people will also feel that. And sadly enough, it was not able to go through the retreat, so I needed to cancel it. And that brought me with a lot of grief, of course. Like you're so passionate and so hard, like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. And looking back, it was a beautiful learning. Like, how can we let the mind and the heart like co-create? Like, we need them both. And we live in a world that is more like head based. And then what talking about my own experience, first was like, oh, hey, how can I go to the heart and really move from the heart? And then I did that. And then I saw like, oh, how can I like click it together, like with the heart and with the mind, just really like move from the heart, but let the mind work for the heart actually, rather than the mind taking the control. Yeah.
I love everything that you're saying. And I am sure many people in the audience, we have all been through this, right? Like we're so excited and so passionate about something. It can be a retreat or a course or anything else. And we're so excited and we're so excited. And then we start seeing this checklist of like 1,000 things that we need to do. And then the mind starts getting stressed and it's like, oh my gosh, but we have so much to do. And instead of like, being still passionate about what you're doing, it turns out to be this space where you're like, but oh my gosh, this feels like a burden. This
How
doesn't
I'm gonna
feel
do
fun,
this? Yeah.
right? The fun goes out. The creative mind goes like, it's like, oh, we don't have time for this, right? It's kind of like this little dwarfs in our head saying like, the machine needs to keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
Like, no time for this touchy feeling person.
No.
You know what I mean? No time for the
Yeah,
heart. We're too busy for
and
you.
just go through. Yeah. And not even like pause a little bit, because that's also when I look back, I was like, oh, you should just pause and just give yourself a little bit of time and rest to really feel in, like, why are you doing this again? Rather than like what you say, like all those checkpoints and like, oh, and then the money, what you see, what it costs to like get a venue, like a place and stuff and the food and the things, and rather than just only focus on that, like, okay, hey, how can I still find the balance in this process and also just give myself a little love and go back to that passion, rather than just like get carried away by the mind, like how are we gonna do this?
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? And I really like resonate with everything that you're doing, you're saying, right? It just feels very, very aligned with so many different stories that I've heard in the past. And the reality is that when you're running like an online program, one-on-one coaching, whatever you call it, if your program doesn't work, you scrap it, you remove the sales page, and then you move on. You create the next thing. But when you're running a retreat, there is a financial burden, a financial investment that you are creating. So then you have to book a venue and you have to do all these things. So this adds into the stress, right? This adds into, like your backpack. You're basically putting a couple of rocks on and you're like, okay, this doesn't feel as light as my online coaching. Why? Because it's a different, but the beauty about retreats is that it's a container for rapid transformation. So you want people to come to retreats because they transform something in a matter of days. So it's absolutely amazing. So it's totally worth the effort. But it just during the way, right? On the way there, it feels a lot harder than just creating another freebie.
For me, when I was busy with my retreat, at one point I was like, oh my God, like I don't have anybody that signed up, but I will sign up for my own retreat because I need a retreat right now. Like it was so much like to do. And it was like, oh, like from my retreat, I really go into like, how can we move from the heart and see the world from the single eye from the heart? Like really no judgment, like really go with the flow and really go out of like love. And I was like, oh, I need that. Like, I have knowledge about this, right? Like, where is it? Like, can I go on my own retreat? Because it was just like the mind was just like taking it out. And then it's interesting because what you say, like on the path to the retreat, like it's something beautiful. Like, it's not only a one-on-one session or an hour or even a day retreat or 2 days. Like you have so much more time to really go deeper and to create like a safe place for people to even just to be. Like it doesn't have to even be like really weird tools or anything, but it's just like the space you create with the whole group, not only the retreat host but also the people. And along the way that I was creating that, actually looking back, I was like, this retreat actually helped me so much. So it didn't even help other people to go through what I thought, like to really live from the single eye from the heart, to really live from out like judgment and just take everything what is coming to you in life just as like, okay, this is how it is. And that was actually my message to put in the retreat. And the beautiful thing and ironic thing is that was the exact lesson that I got. Like, okay, and Rose, just accept how it goes. Like, and just move again from the love and acceptance. Okay, it didn't went through. Okay, okay, you can grieve, and it's sad, of course, but accept it. See what you get out of it. So it was a tricky game from the universe, I think. It was like a lesson that I was like, okay, there was the lesson that I thought by giving to others or showing to others. And then it ended up by myself. And that's interesting because that's always what I've been saying. Like it's always start with yourself. And I think I forgot that along the way, creating the retreat.
Oh.
So the universe was like, we're gonna set you back. Yeah.
Knock, knock, I'm here. Right, but what a beautiful lesson, right? And I do believe that every time like something happens to us, we get to choose. Either we see it from a positive perspective of growth and learning as a learning opportunity, or we see it as something is like a terrible thing that happened to us, right?
Yeah.
And it is our choice to see where we take that, right? Like you could have like canceled the retreat and then be like, well, people are not ready for my teachings. You know what I mean? Like, taking it from a completely different perspective rather than like, oh my gosh, so what do I get to create from here, right? So it's all about at the end of walking the talk, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, now you lived it, you saw this process, but now you get to go and run another retreat and walk the talk, right? And be aware in which points you're moving towards a direction that is not the direction that is not heart-based, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's
then,
beautiful. And I think that's the case, not only what you said before, not only with creating a retreat, it's like with everything, like what is happening in your life. It's like you have a choice how to react on that. And it's mostly the story that you make around it that where you hold on to. Like if you indeed what you say, if you just see it like, okay, that's a beautiful lesson, then the burden and the heavy emotions already come less. But if you think like, oh, I failed, I don't know how to do it, or people don't want to go on a retreat on me, then it's like you taking more and more like stress and emotions on your shoulders, and it's actually up to you. Like how can you just accept the things how they are and move from that and yeah, indeed just learn from it.
yeah, I really like this because it's like so important for us to really go into this space of like being connected with what we want to do, right? And being able to be authentic. I am so happy, like I'm so grateful that you're open to talk about this because so many people would want to hide and say, I've never canceled that retreat, or this is not something that ever crossed my mind. Or, you
Mm.
know, I pushed through and I ran my retreat with 2 people. I lost money and I just did it because I didn't want to go and like tell people that I had to cancel it or I had to move the date. It's all about authenticity. And this
It
is
was a big process for me as well, by the way. It was
something.
like at the moment, but then again, it was like, am I listening to the heart or to the ego? And indeed, the ego was saying, like, no, 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 you're not gonna cancel it. You know, again, all those voices or that story that you're not worthy or anything, like all those emotions came up again, like, I'm not good enough, or I cannot do it if I gonna cancel it. But then it was like, then the ego is just like out of pride. I just don't allow my feelings to be there or allow to really listen to my heart. And my heart was like, cancel it. It was too much stress. It was like you don't get anything out of it. But the ego was like, no, you're not gonna cancel it. Like, why should you do it? No, failure. And then it's like no, like listen to the heart. Like there is no good or wrong if you cancel it or not. Like and again, it's so important to listen to the heart. And indeed, what you say, I think it's so important to be authentic. And in that way, I think there is no good or wrong. Like everything is just as it is, and everything is just good.
Yeah, and I think it's so important for everyone who's listening to really sink in this piece. Like, it's okay if you go through this back and forth of like, do I cancel? Do I not? Do I keep going? It's
Because that will
normal.
happen anyway. Like,
Yes.
yeah, you cannot
So,
avoid that.
so just say, oh, this is part of the process. Yes, the ego will talk, the heart will
Yeah.
talk, the fears will come, but I just gotta keep showing up. And if
Yeah.
showing up means I get to cancel this one because next time when I show up, I really show up from my heart, then that's how you show up, right? Showing
True.
up doesn't
Yeah.
always mean being like pushing through something, right? We're so trained when we're kids to
Yeah.
really push through things, right? You
Really
didn't
the
do this one.
result as well. Yeah.
And sometimes we just need to say, nope,
Yeah.
I am
It's
not.
like, yeah, it's also like being authentic and being true to yourself. And okay, yeah, we have this image like, okay, we need to do it the correct way, or what you say, like we need to push through it, or it's about the outcome. It's about actually putting the retreat together, because, well, that was your goal. You're
Mm.
creating a retreat, so there must be coming a retreat. And then along the way, we actually miss our actually essential being, because it's focused on the outcome that's not there. It's
Mm.
only in your mind. And rather than just like stay true to yourself and, okay, hey, I stand up for myself, this is what I feel, rather than focusing on pushing on the outcome, or like we need to achieve something, we need to be somewhere in life or anything. Just, okay, that can change by the day. Like if you today like yellow and tomorrow purple, like, yeah, don't hold on to the yellow, like things can change.
And it is so true. Like so many, I speak with like a lot of people all the time because I'm always doing research. I'm super, interested in what's happening out there, what people are going through, what's going
Mhm.
on, so I can serve all my clients better, right? So I can really put my energy there and I can make sure that I am serving people from my heart. And so many like of these calls, like most of them, when I talk to people, it's all about like, I had to learn a lesson. Maybe it was not easy the first time, but now I know how to deal with it. Now
Yeah.
I know how to do this. Now, because I did it, it's just like it's even an upgrade of what it was before. And
Yeah.
this is such a powerful learning.
Yeah, it will just help you more and more to where you will come anyway. Like where you're supposed to be, it will come. And along the way, just take the lessons. And I also think, yeah, just enjoy it. That was for me. For me, that was also in the beginning, I really enjoyed like creating the retreat.
Mm.
But then at one point, it was like there was no joy anymore. It was such a pressure. And then now I know, like, okay, the moment that my my creative and my passion side and my joy is transforming into like, oh, I have to, or like fear, it's like, okay, that's like an alarm bell to like put myself to sit still and just to feel like, okay, hey, where's the joy? Where can I again move from that heart, rather than just, oh, the checklist to do.
And I have to say something that has like I heard the other day that really like stuck with me, and I think is so important as a like as a teaching in general for us. Like in general, not everyone, of course. Like don't take this with a pinch of salt, right? But for us women, we want to have everything very planned, right? We want to have the venue, we want to have the food, want to have this, we want to have everything perfect. Kind of like it comes from the perfect housewife training and processing of our childhood, right? Like
Yeah.
everything is gonna be perfect, and the website has to be absolutely beautiful, and it has to portray all the emotion. It has to have blah blah blah, and it. It's all this huge list that adds up into this huge pile of stress, right? And then something that is absolutely amazing sometimes, like from a lot of men that I see, like not so many men run retreats. It's not such a huge thing. More of the people in the spiritual world are women. That's for another conversation. But there's not that many men running retreats. There are, but compared in percentages, it's like a lower percentage. the other day I was listening to someone who wants to run a retreat in Mexico, and it's a group of like us men's circle, right? So they meet once a month, whatever, and they want to go into retreat. They're like, well, we sold our retreat in August. We have the dates, but we don't have a venue. We need a venue for the retreat.
I
You know
love
what I
it.
mean?
Yeah.
They just told their group of men, hey, we're going on a retreat in August. You're in, right? Like they probably said that.
Yeah, but that's the best, actually, that's the best way. Looking back, I also felt like, no, you first need to have a group. And of course, like you need to have a little bit of a feeling that you want to bring into like where you're gonna, but like the men's, like it's a men's circle. So they probably already have like some tools that they really want to do. But how beautiful that you have a group and then actually you can feel into the group and then find a
Create around
place
it.
that connected to it. And it was one thing that I felt in the retreat. Like I really had like I wanted to like talk with everyone on forehand and then creating the program a little bit on the needs of the people. But I think it's so much more powerful because what is the most important thing that you need in a retreat? The people.
Yeah.
So what you actually you need to start there and then see the options for where to go. And of course, for me, I would already like do some research for a couple of like locations, of course, but I think it's
Like
it's
for my
beautiful.
for my program Mastering the Art of Retreat Planning, we have of course certain things that we need to talk about, and because based on the research, this is what people want to listen. Oh, how do I sell my retreat? How do I price my retreat? Like those are things we don't skip, right? Because they're important and people want to learn those. And I've interviewed hundreds of people to make sure that my program has everything that you need, right? That it's very, very covered. But throughout the interview process, because everyone comes from an interview, like everyone has spoken to me beforehand, they always tell me their story. So I make sure that what they need and their style is taken into consideration, right? I work with people also who do retreats on demand, right? So people hire them to plan their retreats because they don't want to be selling to 20 different people. They want to sell to one person who wants a retreat for their family, right? So it's a different business approach. So then I make sure that if there's people who have this business approach, then we have content that is tailored for that, for them. So they don't get the cookie cutter thing that it's for everyone. Everyone gets to have their personalized experience. And it also opens up the space for other ones to see the reviews and be like, well, maybe I could also offer that as another thing. Because that sounds fun. And I never thought about it.
Nice. Yeah.
Right. So it's so important to have in consideration these pieces. But you don't want to tell, like, just for everyone out there, you don't want to tell people that the retreat is tailored on their needs because they feel like you don't know what you're talking about and you're just going to wing it. So you want to make sure that there is like things that are specific, but not specific enough for them to know, like creative workshop, right? So then maybe that one you change it into these kind of things, right? Or you change what you talk about inside your breathwork session or how you got your breathwork session, but they know there's a breathwork.
Yeah.
So then you tailor it, but they don't really need to know that you're tailoring it based on who joins, because then it feels a little bit weird for people. They want to know what they're getting out of it, right? That's what they
and people will be more open when it's just like more like, oh, a creative workshop. Then they were like, oh, open, but it will be like, oh, creative workshop to release your trauma. Then it will be like closed, like, oh, what's gonna happen? I need to prepare myself. So it's also so important to give the tools that even with the words or how you communicate it with the people, that they already feel safe and like, oh yes, we could just gonna dance or do some breath work, and
feels lighter.
It feels much lighter, and then people are more safe. And then when people are more safe, then probably there will come trauma or stuck emotions come out, but then the focus is not on that, and then it comes more in a natural way. So
So thank you so much for sharing this. Like really feels so great. It feels like so honest, and I feel like so many people need to hear this. Because when we're in the space of like retreats, it's normal. Retreats get canceled, they get postponed.
Yeah.
Venues overbook the dates, and suddenly you need to find a new venue. Like things happen. Like
New date. Yeah. Not
things
everything is
happen.
in control of you. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's also a big
yeah,
lesson to like trust, and things will just go as it goes.
yeah. And it's all about like, really trusting and getting the tools and and support, right? If you feel that you're missing something, that there is something else that you can add on and that it will let you skip the learning curve, then go
Yeah.
for it. Like, invest in yourself, because that's the way you get to show up better for your next retreat and your next retreat, and you keep growing. Like,
Yeah.
there's not like we never stop learning. And the moment we think we have it all, then it's the ego talking, it's not our heart.
Actually, that's the worst thing to think, actually. I always think like there's no bad things to think or to do, but if you think you already know everything, that's like one point that guarantees that you're gonna like miss so many points or things. And yeah, we still keep on learning. And I think we're all in that, even if you're a retreat host or like a guest. I think it's always like you're learning again and again and again. For me, even putting the retreat together, not even there, but I just knew like I will learn so much. Even when one day my first retreat that will happen come, I know I will learn so much because other things will come up again. And just to be open for that. And I also think just to be gentle for yourself, to be open to all those lessons without any judgment is, yeah, the best attitude to step in those things.
Yeah, I love this. And if I can leave everyone with a question, it's like when you're planning your next retreat, don't forget to ask yourself, what do I want to get out of this retreat? Right?
Yeah.
What do I want to learn from this retreat? Because it's an energetic exchange in so many different levels. It's not just
Yeah.
a financial energetic exchange. You exchange as you hold space. You will learn from the people who come to your retreat. They will learn from you. What do you want to get from it? Because if you start
Yeah.
just thinking about what everyone else will, you forget about yourself. And
Most important thing. Yeah.
it's very, very important.
Yeah.
So, so food for thought for all of you listening to us out there. So, Anne-Roos, thank you so for being so much here. So, how can people find you if they want to talk to you and learn more about all these beautiful heart centers, things that you teach in your programs and soon to come next retreat?
Yeah, well, thank you, Lenny, so much as well. And I think the best way to find me is via my Instagram, and it's my name, Nesvadba, and you see it in the link below. I think it's easier with the difficult last name, but I think that's the best way to reach me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today,
Thank
and thank you for
you.
everyone listening. I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode with Anne-Roos. It was absolutely amazing to get to hear what happens when you get to cancel a retreat and how you can shift that towards a learning opportunity. But I want to invite you to join me in Mastering the Art of Retreat Planning so you never have to cancel a retreat. Yes, as it say it. Mastering the Art of Retreat Planning is really the space where you can release all doubt and learn all the steps that are necessary for you to succeed as a retreat leader. Doesn't matter if you have already hosted a couple of retreats or you're new in this. What you have to have inside is a big passion to create transformation in the world in an in-person space. So I invite you to check down the caption below and see what this program is all about. See you next season.